Right, folks, so there's going to be times I'm going to have to take this off. So if I'm talking away and you can't hear me, just let me know. Okay. So as you can see, we're going to be working on the bench with several different tools. We've got the frame here, which we're going to upholster, and it's already been fitted. I've marked some sizes up on here, which we were going to put on the spring clips. I've already put 2 on, but I just wanted to show what it's like with them on. Okay. Some of the tools we're going to be using, just going to be using the big crown stapler. Okay, and that's going to be used for putting the spring clips on. It's a pain in the bum. Going to use some spring clips, and that's we're going to obviously use the stapler to put them on. We're going to be using a foam cutter, just like the one you've seen online with Danny. He talked about it. So I'm going to use that and show you how to use that today. Use a cloth tape. I'm going to use bolt cutters. I'm going to use serpentine springs, and it's on the roll. Type 71 staples, a type 71 staple gun. Use some black and white English webbing, a puller. I'm going to talk about the feet we're going to put on. Okay. 10-ounce hessian. I'm not going to use that, PVA. I'm going to use our shears, 10-inch, metre stick, and bits and bobs. Folks, I'm going to transfer my sound.
What we talk about, folks, is the frame itself. First thing we should be doing with the frame is just making sure it's all been chamfered, especially before we go into the foam. This frame's not, so it requires to be chamfered by a file, a chamfering file or a file. Okay. So you would do that first before you would go on to do anything else. All right. You just make sure everything is stable, and make sure your supports are actually in. You don't need glued in, because once you actually put these tensile springs on, it's going to pull the frame in really, really tight. So all they need to do is be in place. Actually don't need to glue in, but it's good not to glue them in, because you can chop them out the way of the springs. You want your springs left and right of these supports. Okay. Next thing what to do is we're going to work off the coil, the serpentine seating spring, which I think is a 12 gauge. Okay, 12 or 9 gauge. I can't actually remember. Is it 9 gauge? Lower the gauge. These are 12 gauge. So the lower the gauge, depending, you put a lower gauge on the seating of a back, and you put this on the seat of it. So we're working from the coil. What we've always got to do is it's like hitting this. So what you want on your seat is you want a bit of a dome. You don't want actually a flat seat. You want it kind of a nice wee shape. So when you actually get your stool, it looks like it's got a good wee curve on it. So you start to measure it, cut one, sample it on. Either it's too flat or it's too slack. And then you just cut off one until you got to the right sort of stage. So it's a wee bit of play in this, especially off the coiled springs. You can actually buy springs cut to length for frames or seating, and the ones then you've just fit the normal frame. But because we're making a bespoke piece of furniture, you've got to use these ones here. Right. So I've cut some already, and what I've cut is, if you count that from the straight back here, I've cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 loops, and both loops finish on an end like that. Okay. So how we do that is we take the coil. You've got to be careful with these coils, folks, because these sharp edges can cut you quite easy, because it's cut with the bolt cutters, and that's how severe it's going to be. So it can actually make quite a nasty wee cut, so you've got to be careful. All we do with this is we start for the loop with your pens and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to your last loop. Okay. Get your bolt cutters. It's always good to do this in pairs when we're back in the class. Sunny's already done it. Pull that out and just get it right in the middle and cut. That's got formed spring. However, as you can see, it's still got half of the loop on it, folks. And what happens here, we've got to form that edge, and that formed edge stops it to pulling out of the actual spring clip itself. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. There's one already formed. Okay, there's one that's not formed. So what we do is show you the forming tool. Let's just whip this round. You whip the camera round, just down to the 3 thing down there. You angle that down so you can see. You should see this tool right in here in the vise. Okay, how we use this, if you put that into the forming tool just now, as you can see, it looks to kind of pull out and it's in its clip under pressure. If we don't form that tool, this actual bit of spring, it's just going to pull out of the actual spring clip itself. And it's all upholstery when it does that, it's in the bum to actually replace the spring or really try and fit it back into the spring clip. It can be done, it's quite hard. And actually you can charge £50 a go for going out to somebody's sofa and replacing one of these springs. It can be quite hard. All we do with that is we push the lever forward, put the spring clip in with the cut facing 12 o'clock, and then bring the lever back, and we bring it back to the 9 o'clock position, 12, 9, okay? And that just forms that edge, just like that, okay? And that stops it from pulling out, and no movement at all. So the next one, put it in again, bring it onto the 10 o'clock position, and just fold it until you get to around the 9 o'clock position. Okay, and that just forms that edge for that. And that'll just stop it pulling out of the spring clip when it's working. Any questions on that, folks? You can hear me okay?
I can hear you.
That's good.
Scott.
Again? Okay, so what we do is only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 springs on this piece of furniture. So I've already cut 5 and I've formed the 5 of them. Okay, you don't need to see my head, all you need to do is hear me. More important you see this. Okay. So how we divide these up is quite simple. Remember, we're working centimetres and millimetres. You sometimes hear me referring to inches, which is a habit I've got. Okay. On the tape measure, you maybe not see that with the screen because of the light and all that sort of stuff, but I've got centimetres on one side, inches on the other on the cloth tape. Now we know this is 600, but this one's a wee bit off, it's 605. But we go straight to the middle of that, so it's 605 that side, and just over 600 that side. So does it matter if you're not precise? Nah, you've got quite a bit of tolerance in an upholstery compared to the cabinet making side, so you can be a wee bit left and right of it. So mark the centre at 300. And also, a thing to remember for your stool is why we put the hardwood in here. What kind of hardwood's that?
Elm?
Poplar.
Poplar. What's the most common timber they would use for framing this sort of thing?
The paint?
No. For a spring rail, Danny spoke about it a couple of weeks ago.
Beech.
Birch. Birch is probably the most common because it's the cheapest hardwood you can buy. Birch and poplar are quite cheap. When I say quite cheap, they're the cheapest, the hardwoods. But again, it's the best one. It's close grained, straight grained, so it's less likely to split like beech. The beech is quite expensive. It's about how it reacts to a tack, a staple, when it actually gets driven in, so it doesn't actually sit up. Okay. So we mark the middle. Let's mark the middle here, which is 300. Then we want to divide them up. Now the width of these springs is 45 centimetres, just around 2 inches or thereabouts. Okay. So left and right of that, what I want to do is just mark where my spring's going to go. So half of 45 is 23 and a half in it, or thereabouts. So it's a thereabouts That's all that matters. So we know the first one's going around there. Okay. Then from that, we want to go another 45 millimeters or 95 mil to the centre of the next one. Okay, double check that. Right, 95 to the centre. The next one then 23 and a half to the next one, and 23 and a half to that one. Okay, then the next one's already there. 95 to the middle, 95 to the middle. We always miss this rail here. So what it did is went 300 to the middle, 95 and 95 to the next middles, and 95 to the next middles, leaving 110 mil to the centres. Okay. What you've got to remember is it's all depending on these things. You've got to make sure your springs, when they're actually under pressure, are not going to touch any timber. Okay. The reason being is if we touch timber here, it's going to cause a squeak. So every time somebody sits on a sofa or on a chair or on a stool, you're going to get a slight squeak, and it's a pain in the bum. I've been out to brand new sofas where the customers complained about a squeak, and that's all that is the metal touching wood. Starts to burnish it and gets a wee squeak. What they did is they gave me a wee bit of oil, and put it on, a wee bit of lubrication, and lots of people have died. Okay. So the next thing to do, that's stage one. We've checked the frame, we've chamfered all the edges, we've marked it off. Stage two, we're putting the spring clips on using this big gun here. Okay, this is a crown stapler. This one only takes, I think it's up to 15 mil. I think these are around 12 mil crown staples. Quite heavy gauge, quite thick. You get up to 2 inch staples for some guns for doing framing. You can see the difference on that. Again, big heavy guns. I've got a wee big framing gun here that I used when I was a framer, and you can see the difference in size. This is automatic, so when you pull the trigger, it'll just keep shooting them until you take the finger off the trigger. It has got a safety mechanism, so it's obviously got to be pushed in before you do it. Just similar to this one. But again, very really be very cautious when you're using these to keep the fingers out of the way, because it only takes for that staple to go in, hit another bit of metal, and all it'll do is it'll just strike it out in any direction. If your hand's in the vicinity, it'll just go straight into it. I went and put a 2 inch one right through my finger one time, and I can tell you it was horrendous. So one of them I put right through my finger. One side, outside, and one side, out the other. It's quite funny when you think back, but not at the time. So when we fit these staples on, you'll see 2 wee holes there, okay, and you'll see 2 wee holes, 2 elongated holes right there, okay. The bottom holes are the long ones, that's the ones we go down, and that's the clip we leave up with that, okay. And how we fit these on is put them right in the centre, and we hang the actual clip just slightly over the edge of the actual frame itself. Okay. Using this gun, what we do is compressed air, just fits in, and it's ready to go. I'm going to get a wee bit closer, you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so what we do is we hold that in place, just slightly over, about 5 mil, in the middle, and we bring the gun onto it. At the end, take the fingers away from it, and shoot it in, just like the next one, okay? All the way across until we've got them all fitted. Now it's important you hang the spring clip over the edge of the actual rail, and that will stop the spring itself rubbing on the spring rail itself. And that wee top tip is when you put the spring clips on. Get your gun, and when you put it on, lean it forward slightly so it's shooting it in the direction towards the front of you. Don't shoot out of the front of you. Any questions on the spring clips? Fuzzy folk in it. Any questions on that, folks? That's your spring clip done. So that's more or less your stage 2 thereabouts. Okay. So make sure you hang them over. Make sure you put them to position where they can actually be seen. And this is what you should be doing. You should be taking pictures at each stage of the job so then you can enter it into your portfolio. So next bit for it is the springs itself. So when we fit these springs on, what we want to make sure is they're all going in the same direction. So if you have this pointing that direction, then all your springs should be pointing that same direction. So when you actually tie them in, they're all together. You put them on, clip over one side, and in the workshop we've got a device which you can help pull it in, but we've got a wee bit of black and white English here. Just clip over that shawl end like that, and that helps you pull it onto the actual spring clip itself. Okay, just like that. And you can see that gives you a nice wee dome shape for your seating area, and that's going to set up your seat and gives you quite a good bit of suspension on your seat. So just mount the rest of them, mount them all the same direction. Again, why don't you do it with your hands and just pull it on, because the likelihood is you'll cut yourself. That's how it works. And you can see being formed at the end with the reforming tool, it's going to stop them pulling out of the spring clip. If you not have them formed, the likelihood is it'll pull out quite easy. So far, so good. Okay. So what we need to do now, that's the springs on. All I've got to do is secure them in. Right? So the springs are already up. What I need to do is go and get a hammer and hammer them down. Okay. So what we're going to do is just drive on top, drive them down. You can see the have to do here's the same gun. And in the bottom of this gun, you'll see the two wee teeth. And the two wee teeth go into the two holes. And what we do this time, just slightly forward, you're laying it like that into the frame and just finish it off. You guys use this. Remember, bend on this. That's stage 2 of 3. Then the next one we're going to get into is tying it in. Now, spring unit's good. That's us set up the suspension within our actual carcass itself. Now, there's a lot of pressure on that. Now, they're absolutely solid now, because all that spring wheel wants to do is suck that in. And this is where your construction of the actual carcass, if it's fluid well, and it's secured well with fixings, mechanical fixings, i.e. screws, then it's going to hold good together. If there's any sort of weakness in that frame, then it's just going to pull it apart. And that's why we've got these supports in. As you can see, when you press down these springs, it's missing the supports, and that's what we want. Okay. So from that, the only thing we've got to do is put ties in here, because the springs can still move left and right. And what happens if we don't tie these springs in and stop that left and right movement? What happens is that shot, it's going to move and the foam's going to split and it's going to fall into these holes. So we've got to make that spring unit hole 1. And how we do that is we use twine. Okay. This time we move on to a different type gun. We're going to move over to my Type 71 and just double check there's no staples in it. It's empty. So just load it in and we load it with actual staples, the sharp bit facing up the way. Okay. Just like the guns in the college, they've got a wee safety device on them. So when it's pushed in against the frame, then it will fire. Okay. These never get fired in jest or anything like that. We never pull it back and fire it because one of these in your finger or your eye is going to cause a wee bit of damage, especially your eye. Okay, open compressed air. You can get electrical ones and you can get hand ones, but these work really quickly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start in the centre and I'm going to secure a bit of the twine on. So we've got the length of the twine on, we've got about a length and a half minimum, and that should do you do your tie on here. Okay. The first one I'm going to do is I'm going to just secure that onto the frame right here. I'm going to go forward first. I'm just going to do a wee twist back down. Now this is a knot, and this knot's called, what is the knot called? Because for use folk it's already done it. What's the knot called? I'm going to do, you call her? MD? Don't you remember? David, you've done this knot, you know? Anybody remember the knot? Clove hitch knot? Do you know how to do a clove hitch knot?
Flat knot?
What?
Flat knot?
Not slip knot. Clove hitch knot, okay? I'm going to try and get this as close as I can so you can see it. I want to bring the video down so you can actually look in. As close as I can so you can see. There you get it here. So clove hitch knots that's going to finish off. What we do is we go over the top, bring it back, keep that loop up, go back under, and to that loop, pull it back away, hold it tight, and lock it in. That's a clove hitch knot. Okay, over the top, over the top, back round, and then through that hole. Secure on. I'll do it slowly again, and I'll start to speed up. Got it? Clove hitch knots. So you get a wee bit closer up ones, you can Google the clove hitch knot and you can see how clove hitch knot's done.
What did you say it was called again, Scott?
A clove hitch knot.
A bow hitch knot?
Clove, as in clove.
Oh, right, okay.
So once you've got it all secured across, your staple gun, you can use tacks and secure it into the frame. When you secure it in the frame, always come back in yourself and see it secure, just like that. Okay. Happy days. So that's the first one done. What we'll do is we'll just take that excess line off, and that changes the dynamic of the frame itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to do three lines of them, we're going to do 1, 2, 3, and that just makes the spring unit all as one. All right. We'll way marry up with that one there. So we go down 2 and down 2, 1, 2 loops in the middle again. So one middle and middle again. So I'm going to demo that again. Slowly, slow motion. Over the top, right over to the right. Keep your loop, back over and under, and through that loop, back through. Okay? Tight. Keep it tight at all times. Getting that loop. Look through. Okay, simple as that. So continue to do that until you get the spring unit done. Any questions? Now doing knots in upholstery, there's lots of different knots, folks, and once you actually start to get the hang of the knots in upholstery, they can become second nature, and you do them without thinking about them. But when you have to actually start to explain how things are done, then it's a wee bit harder. That's something you can mention in your report, in your record of work, about a clove hitch knot. You could actually even put a sketch of how it's done into your report. And this is quite a heavy twine. You can use different types of twine. You can use button and twine and all different types of. A couple of hours using this. And so that's quite so. Fine springs where it's Z springs, coil springs. It's the same sort of knot. Okay, middle again. One more. I'm going quite fast here, folks, but you should be able to achieve all this in one class, no problem, right up to the rolled edge. So there's already folks started it, so you've got a wee bit of leg up. Again, if you start to run short in any time, then we can arrange a wee bit more time somewhere else to make up for that loss. So don't be overly panicked about time to pass stuff, because what I've planned should be enough. If you're tying in a big sofa or a big chaise, doing this sort of thing, it's actually really quite sore in your fingers. And if you get it wrong, doing this sort of knot, as long as the knot holds, really, it doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. If you tie it the odd one wrong, that's really going to change the price of the bread. No, it's not. Nobody's going to see it. Only the next person's ever going to see this job is the next person who goes to reuphold. Remember, the difference between reupholstery and recovery is different. The likelihood is that's on there now, that'll last for 50, 60 years. So I'll be gone by then, so I'm not actually going to worry about the next person thinks. What you can do is remember, write your name inside the frame. If somebody does strip it down, sell it. You've done that. So that's the spring unit, folks. Nice and secure, left and right. Makes the spring unit all one and makes it fit a lot better. Any questions on that? End at all. So next time we're moving on to this fearless days. Some stuff. Is measure for the hayseed. What we want now is a bit of hayseed. That bit of hayseed is going to be your first cover, which goes over here. it's your first platform before you actually put your foam on to allow it to then start to build up to calico stage. Now you remember what Danny says, you can buy furniture at calico stage, then you just put your cover on it. That's the stage we're working up to, is calico stage. But today we're working up to the first foam layer. 2 foam layers on this. I've got 1 inch, I've got 2 inch, which will give you a 3 inch seat height, okay, of this stool, and it actually looks really nice when it's done. So what I do is, we know the size of we stool. Anybody remember off the top of their head what length and depth it is?
600.
600. 600 by, yes, David, well done. 600 by
900.
400. Okay, somebody just go bring the wee screen into play here. So what we've got our stool, 600 by 400. Okay, so we want to cover by hessing, but we want to leave enough on that hessing to do a rolled edge. And the rolled edge is going to give us a rolled edge of 25 millimetres, i.e. 1 inch, i.e. 2.5 centimetres. So we'll have to allow enough fabric. So what I like to do is add on around 100 mil or 10 centimetres on each edge. So 200 onto the length will be 800. And 200 onto this will make that 600. So we need a bit of hessing. 800 by 600, okay? We bring it down a wee bit so you can see best. More. And we bring the hessing into play. So you get different sorts of weights of hessing. This hessing we're using is 10 ounce. Okay. What kind of things can we use to mark this, folks?
Tailor's chalk.
Tailor's chalk. Anything else?
Fabric pen.
Hey,
Fabric pen.
can't hear that one. Say again.
Fabric pen.
Fabric pen, aye, you can. Let's see, have you got any of them? Any other ways? Yeah?
Pencil.
Fabric pens, I don't want to contaminate this. Any other way of doing it? No? Well, here I'm going to show you.
Pencil.
Sorry?
Pencil.
Pencil. I could use a pencil, but I've not got a pencil either. I've left them on the house. A bit daft. As you can see, remember I talked about the weave and fabric. You've got the what? The weft. Left. What's that? Weft. What's the other one?
Weft and white.
Waft.
Weft and warp. So the weft goes left to right. That's what you remember it. Left to right, left, right, left, and warp always runs up and down. So how you can tell where the warp is look at the salvage. That's the bit which goes onto the machine is held where it's actually done. Okay, so that's the weft going this direction, and that's the warp going there. That's only give you an idea how things are set up. But again, I've not got a pencil. I'm going to go 800. I'm going to go by 600. That's 700. So I'm going to go 600 this direction. I'll do the 800 first. 800. So there. Away 800 up here. Okay, you can see that where my finger is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just go back. I'm going to look for the warp threads, and hopefully this will work. Hopefully it will. You should be able to pull out one of these warp threads, which will give you a line, I hope. You see. It gives you a mark. The way to work today, folks. You should be able to see that. Let's just give you a line all the way up there. I don't know if you can see that. So what I did is I pulled out one of the lock threads and it's gave me a line all the way down there, so I know where to cut. Okay. So you can pull out the lock threads and the wet threads, and it just gives you a straight line to cut to. So now that's 800. Let's just double check. 800 spot on. So the next size was what?
600 to 400.
600. No, my hairstring is going to be 600. So an extra 2. So again, that's around there. I'm just going to pull some of the threads out. And I'm going to pull that out. And that's going to give me a line to cut to. See that? I don't know if you can see that on the screen, folks. I don't know if you can see that. See the line?
Yeah.
Yes.
The warp thread out, it's giving you a nice straight line to cut to. So there you go. If you haven't got a pen, then you can do that with hasting. And it saves you marking it down or something like that. So the next stage is now fitting that onto the actual frame itself. So when we're fitting on the frame, just lay it on and just make sure we've got our overhang of that 100mm either side. We've got 100. So any sort of cover when you're starting to upholster it on, you don't want to staple right to the edge. You want to staple just about 10mm back for the edge, so you're not building all your fixings up in the one place. Okay. Lay it on, get it into place, then pull down at the front here. Come to the side so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to start at the centre. I'm just going to fold that down. I'm going to go for about 2 or 3 inches every centre, every finger in the centre. I'm going to come over to the opposite side. Then I'm just going to give it a wee yank forward, a wee yank down, just to give it a wee bit of tautness. And I'm just going to continue that along. Another 3 or 4 inches. So we've got a wee bit of tightness right in the middle there. That's how you can tell whether it's tight or not. So if you can pull it, grab the fabric, then it's too slack, just like that way is. You see that? So I've got to do the exact same on the other side. So this I'm not going to pull tight, I'm just going to pull it taut. So I'm not pulling it. We turn it around to the left side. Okay. And then do the next side. From that top, so now I can't, I have to stretch it in the middle. Now, once you do your 4 corners, then what you want to do is go through your corners. So you think of everything like a Union Jack. That's how I like to explain it. Is I've just done St George's Cross. Now I'm going to do St Andrew's Cross. So I've done the middles, St George's Cross. I'm going to do my corners, which is St Andrew's Cross. So I'm going to go to the corner, pull it taut. I'm going to work there. Different upholsters will teach you something different. The way I like to do it works always for me. Some will teach you different. I'll do one corner, then finish to the middles. I like to do the 4 middles, then finish everything at one time. Once I've got the 4 corners done now, folks, So we'll just put down bits to fill, and I'll just finish them off. And I'm not actually putting them too tight, I'm just putting a bit of pressure on the fabric and finishing up. Now, it's not seen, so if it's not as neat as you'd like it to be, it's not seen, so as long as it's tight, then it's going to provide a good platform for your foam to go into. Okay. There we go. So that's just got a platform for our foam to go into. But the first thing we've got to do now is a finger roll, okay, or a rolled edge. That rolled edge is a bit, which gives you a bit of spring, a bit of softness on the edge of the, actually a bit of framing here. If you can imagine, I just put a bit of foam on there. That sharp edge, even though I chamfer it, will give me a sharp edge when I sit in it. So I need something to soften that up, but give it a bit of rigidity, a bit of spring in it. And how to do that is with a rolled edge. And all we're going to do is we're going to be rolling that up, and we're going to be fixing that here. Now that rolled edge is just going to slightly hang over the end of the end of your actual stool. Not here, not too far over, but just a couple of mil over and no more. How we do that? We're going to use this fibre. Now I just need something to identify the fibre. I mentioned it earlier.
Coir fibre.
What's that?
Coir fibre.
Coir fibre. What's it made from?
Coconuts.
Coconuts. So, now, if anybody's ever rolled a cigar, does anybody know what a cigar is?
Yes, I do.
Aye, well, this is not a cigar. But if we were in Havana, rolling cigars, this is what it would be like, I think. So we're rolling kind of 2 hands width of coir, and we're rolling it into a kind of cigar length. So when we actually compress it, it looks like a centimetre in thickness. Yeah. So any sort of wee bits we get where it's not an even amount of stuff, then you've just got to tweed it into place, or tease it into place, not tweed it, tease it. Okay. So just a nice wee shape. Now we're looking to this spring roll and this finger roll around a centimetre. So what I'm going to do is going to set it in there, and I'm going to start to roll. Okay. I'm going to get as tight as I can. We'll get it so it's just hanging over the edge, and I'll show you in a second. Get a staple gun out the back here. We'll just put a couple of holes to hold the first bit, and that's what we're looking for, folks. Here, around 25 centimetres in width and around 25 metres in height. Absolutely spot on, perfect. And I've not done this for a while. And I've even had to practice at this one. We continue with that. Roll, watch your fingers, don't staple them. And the idea of this, people, is to try and get this as even as you can all the way around. How long have I been talking for? So what we'll do, folks, I'll show you how to do one corner. Now I'll give you a quick break. I'll do the foam, give you another break, then I'll go into the video.
Diamond match.
So that's me done one kind of side. I want to go to the middle. Then I'll go and do a corner. I'll give you a wee 20-minute break. I'll finish this bit, then I'll go and talk about the foam. Okay. So again, get that cigar shape, get it nice and even. See, there's actually we have bits of coconut and everything in this. I'm actually working on a chair just now. I'm not upholstering it, I'm polishing it for a boy, but it's actually got shavings as filling. So, as Danny's saying, he used a lot of things which you just lay about to upholster years ago. When was that? When would they use that pre-war? Additional fillings, when were they done?
1950.
Before 1950. So that chair I got there before 1950.
Can we see it?
Now you don't need to go for a break. Entirely up to yourself. You can go for a break once I've done this corner. We'll just continue going. We'll go for a wee, get a drink of water, and come back to the foam stage. Okay. So get your corner, and we'll go at that cigar shape. But now we've got a weird looking cigar. We're going to have it. It's a bit of oak. We stuff that in there until we get that nice shape all the way around. What we don't want to do is we don't want the corner of the actual stool to be pointing out. We want that to be just slightly over that corner, so when you actually foam goes over it, it's not going to dig into that edge, meaning if you find your bum down, you're not going to hurt yourself. So I'm going to work up to that corner. Okay. Excess there. Those folk at the back, on the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, if you've got upholstery, this is what you're going to do. What happens if you get it fixed down and you've got a wee void somewhere, we can use a thing called a regulator, and I'll get one of them out shortly. You can regulate the actual coil to make sure you've not got any wee voids. Right? We've almost got that corner shape. Any questions so far? So there we go. I've got the corner there. Now all we've got to do is finish that off. Does it have to look good? No, it doesn't. All I need to do is be functional. So I'm just going to apply that out a wee bit. I'm just going to create a wee fold there. I'm putting a plate that side, I'm putting a plate this side, and I'm going to bring it down. I'm just going to bring that nice wee shape down, just beyond that frame, no more. Dan's going to staple that in. Watch your fingers. Who's still with me?
I'm still with you. It's David Graham.
David, I can hear you. How are we doing, pal? All right?
I'm doing not bad.
Your mum with you? Is your mum there?
No, she's out.
Oh, lucky you. You at the house yourself?
Yes.
Right. Just let me know what keep an eye on the time for me. What's it? I can see it in there. Got 10 minutes.
Can I just quickly ask you, Scott?
Yeah.
What was the name of that thread called for tying the zigzag springs?
Twine.
Oh, twine. Okay, right. Thank you.
I'll find the gauge out when we get back to college next week.
Scott, did you say the rolls are a centimetre?
A centimetre high and a centimetre wide.
Cheers.
When do you get your jag, Julie?
Oh, sorry. The 10th, a week on Saturday. How are you feeling?
I wasn't too good the day after I got it. Just feeling a bit run down. I feel all right now. I got that AstraZeneca one, the blood clotting one.
So we'll just keep a good eye on you then. No keeling over.
Get her a coffee. Hello. Bloody numbers.
Are we back, Scott?
I'm back. Are you back? Right, folks, just a wee thumbs up saying you're, well, 2 minutes early, Alan. You're a wee bit ambitious, aren't you? That video makes me look skinny, doesn't it? What do you think, folks? Makes me look skinny. Wee thumbs up when you're back, or show me your face. Hi, Jackie. Call you admin. Lucas, show me your face. Face up. Wee thumbs up. You there, Faye? Milo? Sky? Aye, good stuff. Right, folks, next stage. Already got this done all the way around. A wee bit rough in bits areas, a wee bit missing, but not too bad. I'm quite happy with it. Just hanging over the framing no more. You can just see that. Hanging over there more than it is here. What I can do is I can sort that just by pushing it forward, tightening it up, and fixing that off. So you want at this stage to go around all your rolled edge or your finger roll and just check it's all kind of even. If you feel any soft bits where you're missing a bit of fibre, we can use a tool called a regulator. Okay, you can see this one's like a wee bit of punishment. What a regulator does, you can stab it into the hexane and you can move the coir around. So you can stop. Talking there, get a pen and just do this.
Sorry, what is the name of the tool? I cannot understand it. What is the name?
It's a regulator. Regulator. So what happens if I've not got a lot in here and I've got too much here? What I can do is I can move that around by stabbing this in and then just pushing it up, all the way up until where I need to get it, just like that. Okay. Or if I want to take something out of the corner, I can push it down, slacking off the corner a bit. Okay, and that's how you regulate here and coil. You do that in the exact same way if you were doing it on a chair, a sofa, or whatever. And you just continue making sure your rolled edge is good. Okay. So the next thing we've got to talk about is the foam. So this is more or less at stage 5, and the last stage we do today is stage 6, which is cut a bit of foam and fit it on by using contact adhesive. Now, the bit of foam itself is going to go in the inside here, because remember what I said, it's 25mm high. The bit of foam we're going to use is 25mm high inch foam. We're using inch foam blue on this, or I don't know, that's the baby blue stuff. That's the stuff we've got at the college, which is nice and soft. So it'll be a nice, comfortable, soft seat on this when you actually go to sit on it. So first thing we do is just measure, and it's 56, 560 by 36, 560 by 36. And I'm just writing this on the board so I remember. Okay, so we set this out of A. We get a bit of foam in place. Now this foam, folks, when it comes in quite a large sheet, around 2 meters by about 3 meters long by 2 meters wide. So it's quite a big bit of foam. So a couple of things you'll need for this. You'll need an ink marker. It's the best thing to use. A square and foam cutter. Because it's only an inch, you could use a pair of shears. Scissors will cut through this, but the foam cutter will do a much easier job. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is mark our size on. You're always better working off with a straight edge. So what we want to do is when we get to college, when we start cutting the foam up, I'll do a thing called a foam plan or a cutting plan. So we're minimising the waste we create when we go to cut it. Okay, so you'll see by the foam cut plan how to mark it up and how to, got a bit of coil fibre on the glasses, how to lay it out so you don't put in any waste. So that's a factory finish edge right there. I'm going to take my size off of that. So my width is 560. I'm going to get 560 out of this. No. So I'll get the 360 out of that. 360. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new edge just beyond that. This bit here is where the actual mold's on. So when it comes out the mold, if it's left on it, you want to cut that off because it can cause discomfort when you're actually working. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a square here along that edge. Create a right angle. And from that, I want 560. 560. The next size I want is 360. Okay, I can use my square for this. I've got this one of these squares at college, so it's all good to go. 360. Just remember when you're using it, when you're measuring, it's from that side to here. When you're inside, your measurement's from the inside size out. So from there, what we're going to do, square that off. 560. I shall be squaring it off. Okay. So you can see what we're going to cut here. As I said again, you could cut this with the scissors. If you can imagine you were cutting lots of foam all day, the last thing you want to do is be shearing away with your scissors. At least to send a message, want to have a look, see what it is. If you want, it's no problem. Sky. Let's put that back off. Any questions so far? So we get
Are we currently on stage 5?
This is stage 6. So if you think about it, just recap. We'll recap at the end. This is stage 6. Cutting and fitting a bit of foam. We don't get too cut up the stages because you could probably put more stages in. You could put the first stage, looking, analysing your frame. The second stage, you can marking the frame. First stage, you could put fixing your spring clips on. Fourth stage, you could put cutting your springs size. So you can put more stages in. I'm just calling this stage 1 to 6. It's just a metaphor. It doesn't mean it's how many stages. Okay. Now, they say if you, this place here, you can actually touch it, it will not cut you. It's true, it will not cut you. However, always keep your hand when you're using any sort of item which cuts anything trailing behind the actual cutting blade, just in case it decides to cut you. Okay. So I'm just going to start here on one of the lines. That's nice and clean. What you need. Before you get any further, the next thing you want to do is just a dry fit. Make sure it's going to fix the problem. So it's not oversized, just in case you've got to trim it, in case you've made any mistake. Before you go to the glue side, contact the teaser. Okay. Get your still back into place. Good to go.
Come on, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana.
Na, 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 na. I don't know who that is. Who's singing?
That was me. There was an advert on the radio in the background.
You might be muted.
I was singing along with it because I just finished a really good breakfast roll.
Oh, bugger off. Lucky you. Don't start singing, I'll start dancing. So that's going to fit you bother, folks. And what I'll do is I'll show you do with these edges once we actually go forward. So, put here, blue side down, mark it with a big cross. And the next one is going to marry up with this here on the head, saying this is your first of your fillings. So, remember about contacted teaser, folks, when you're spraying it, just check your nozzle. Okay, make sure it's clean, because if it's not clean, what happens is where you want to spray it is where your glue doesn't go. If it's a dirty nozzle, then it'll spray the glue over to somebody else, and before you know it, somebody's walking out the class because you've not told them you sprayed them with spray glue in the back. That's probably the best thing. Make sure it's clean before you start spraying so you can get the same sort of spray pattern. On some glues, you'll get small, medium, and large spray patterns, so you can go to small one, large, or medium, depending what you're doing. If it's a big area, you want to do a large spray pattern, or you get into something which is really tight, you can put it into the small set to spray that nozzle, so you can do small, more controlled bits. These are trimmer spray glue, so they don't have a small, medium one. I don't know why, but upholstery ones do. So just spray your foam, try and get it somewhere you don't want the glue to go on. Great. That's quite messy. How long should you leave contact diffusers before you bring two ears together?
Not long, is it not almost immediate?
I'd always leave it a minute or so. You can leave it up to, how long is your open time?
None.
Before the glue becomes inactive. So you've got kind of a window there with this glue in you. So it works on solving in it. Remember, this is part of what we've done in the glue assessment, was contact adhesive, and it's the same sort of stuff. When it becomes tack, then it's good to go. But if you leave it too long, then the glue will just go off. But 10 minutes after that, then the glue will become inactive and not be its full strength. Okay. Once you're ready to go, line it up and then bring it into place and shove it in. What I like to do, folks, is I like to just get the edges, and I used to like to just tuck them in, so it's just creating that shape already. Okay, tuck all the way in like that. Okay, and that comes up to the first of the fillings, i.e. the foam. We've got enough foam to go on top of that. Then we've got the Dacron to go on top of that. Dacron's a softener. Then we're going up to calico stage. The calico stage is where then you start working on what type of colour you're going to put on. So that's took me from then to now. So it's only took me, and that's me doing a lot of talking, about an hour and 40 minutes to get to that stage. So it's more than doable when you come back. It's when we get to the showing of the diamonds and all that sort of stuff, so you've got a little bit more time consuming. As you can see, we'll just recap on the stages we went through. We took the frame, chamfered all the edges, then we measured where our actual spring clips are going to go. We fixed the spring clips on in place. Then from that, we measured. Remember, you're saying if you're doing a new frame, you're using a row of high tensile springs, you kind of have to gauge it, a wee bit trial and error. Cut the ones too tight, or cut another ones too slack, just to get that right dome shape, that right sort of comfort. If you want a flat sort of finish, then you're nice and tight with your springs. If you want it kind of slack, then it's a higher dome than that. You want it right in the middle, where we've got it just now. As you can see, we've got that nice kind of dome shape, like somebody's fell asleep in there and their belly's sticking up. Okay, so we went through the said springs, we fixed them on with 15mm crown staples, put one in, each of them, and then we dragged on the actual springs itself as well, formed all the edges and all that sort of stuff. From that, we put the hessian on. We started, what did we use? What was the sort of thing I
Coil
explained?
fibre.
What's that?
Coil fibre.
No. How did we put the hessian on? Where did I start and how did I explain how I did it?
Oh, sorry. You stapled the hesse?
How did I explain how to do it?
A St George pattern, then a St Andrew.
That's it. Do the middles, St George's Cross, then go your corners, St Andrew's Cross, then fill the rest of the flag in, the edges. That's the way I always kind of remember things. It's the way I always kind of teach things to do. Then you get a proper spread of tension across your actual cover. Okay. So from that, we did the rolled edge using coir fibre. We rolled that inch, giving us the height of 25 mil, the height of the actual foam, and the thickness 25 mil. So when the next layer of foam goes over on top of that, it's going to give it a nice edge. So the next bit of foam is going to be a lot bigger, and it's going to have a chamfer on it, so it goes over the edge. So from finishing the roll, then we went on, we used a thing called a regulator just to tidy it up if it needed it. Then from there, we measured the inside size, cut a bit of foam to size using the foam cutter, and then from there we used contact adhesive, sprayed both sides, left it a couple of minutes, and then fitted it in place. But before that, I did a dry fit, if you remember, just to make sure it was all going to fit fine. I never just cut something, glue it, then put it in place. I always do a wee dry fit, make sure it's going to go. Then that concludes the days on the stool. Any questions, folks?
What was the name of the spray again? Sorry.
What's that?
What was the name of the spray?
It's just contact adhesive. This is just a one from, this is the one I used when I was doing swimming, upholstery swimming in a camper van. That's just carry vans, you don't want to buy there. I've got other ones, but it's behind that door, upholstery ones, but it's the same sort of stuff. You have to spray both sides with these, okay? The directions are on here. What you've got to remember, folks, is it's highly flammable, and it's got also other warning signs there. The warning sign with the person, it means you've got to use it in a high ventilated area, because obviously the toxics of it can make you unwell, okay? So as solvent, basically, solvents is how it works.